Good day, and wish you all stay healthy despite COVID-19 issues and challenges around us. Welcoming to all audiences registered to this webinar who come from more than 10 countries, among others, Indonesia, Japan, Australia, Nigeria, Myanmar, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, Canada, Chile, Namibia, Malaysia, Trinidad and Tobago, and United States of America. It's an honor to me, on behalf of Enterprise This Academy or IRMAPA Singapore, to greet and say a few words to all of us prior to the presentation and speech which will be delivered by Mr. Charles from Indonesia, who is the Secretary General of Indonesia Risk Management Professional Association, or shortly IRMAPA, Ms. Rasika Mohan from Australia, who is my beloved colleague of our partner Keynote Australia, and last but not least, Ms. Untitled Chapter PhD from United States of America, who is also now working with Keynote Chapter United States of America. As already been scheduled by the organizing committee, the presentation will start from Mr. Charles Vorst, who will take us through the topic about the business resilience and business continuity during and after the pandemic. He will use context in Indonesia, whereby IRMAPA and Center for Risk Management Sustainability, or CRMS, have issued guidance of PCM planning as a response to the impact of COVID-19 global pandemic. Right after Mr. Charles, we welcome Ms. Untitled Chapter PhD, who will take us through about a very hot topic which relates to what we are now facing, i.e. working from home. In that regard, let us digest a presentation about workplace risk management and response plan to COVID-19. The last session will be delivered by Ms. Rasika Mohan, who will take us through the topic about the new normal and its implication on the supply chain's resilience. This topic is actually addressing not only for a specific industry, nor specific country, but applicable to all of us, regardless where we live now, and regardless what business we are in. This is relevant now and then, everywhere. May I remind the audience that all of us are expected to post questions via Q&A panel during the session of the speakers, but the answer will be given at the Q&A time slot after the third session finishes. As a closing, may I say again a big thank you to all of you for attending this C-Suite webinar series, and also thank you for all resource speaker and the host, Mr. Fajar Proboseno from CRMS, who will entertain the interactive question and answer after the all sessions finish. Greetings and best wishes to all of us. Stay healthy.
Okay, so I'm gonna start my presentation, but before sharing the screen, allow me to turn off the video. Okay, so yeah, as you can see from the title, my presentation actually about two different yet interconnected topics: business continuity and business resilience in the context of during and after COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm gonna divide my presentation into two parts. The first one is about business continuity, consists of COVID-19 pandemics as a business disruption and business continuity planning for the COVID-19 pandemic. And the second part consists of absorb and adapt in changing environment and building organizational resilience. Okay, about the COVID-19 pandemic as a business disruption. First, let's use business continuity definition from the ISO 22301-2019 Business Continuity Management System to build our common understanding about business continuity. It says that business continuity is the capability of an organization to continue the delivery of products and services within acceptable time frames at predefined capacity during a disruption. I would like to emphasize two keywords here. They are to continue and during the disruptions. Means that by using business continuity management, it is expected that an organization can still deliver its products and services, especially the key products and services, even when and during disruptive events. And the next one is the relationship between disruption and interruption. So a disruption or a disruptive event, or some people may also call it a disastrous event, creates the interruption to the business. Not only the operational aspects of the business, but disruptions to the business. So business continuity is the opposite situation from the business interruption. By executing a well-prepared business continuity plan, it is expected that we can avoid business interruption even in the event of a disruption. This is a scenario which is commonly used by many organizations in Indonesia, at least as far as I can observe, where when a disastrous event happens, it can be a natural or man-made disaster like earthquake, flood, fire, or bomb threat. It will reduce the capacity of the organization to operate normally once it happens. Usually, during the the first hour of the occurrence, the organization will directly execute their emergency response plan, which is to evacuate people to a safe place to save lives, and also try to limit the damage of the property or assets. After that, the organization will try to predict whether the disruption caused by the disaster will be longer than the recovery time objective or the RTO of their critical business functions. Once there is an indication that the disruption period will be longer than one critical business function, then the organization will activate the BCP for that particular critical business function. So the function will start to recover its operational functions gradually until it can be resumed 100% within the maximum tolerable period of downtime or MTPOD. However, there are actually lots of types of disastrous or disruptive event. The event may take various forms, depends on the combination between the characteristic of the disruption and the following interruption to the organization. The disruption source can be internal and external event. The cause of disruption can be the nature or man-made, whilst from the way it happens, it can be a sudden or creeping incident, which actually happens gradually. And from the interruption side, the interruption can take place on our side, which impact to our business, or can be the contingent business interruption, where there is nothing happen to us. We can still operate normally 100%, but somehow it gives impact to our stakeholders. Our supply chain cannot work, our partners cannot work, and our customers also somehow cannot access our product and services. And about the scale of the interruption, it can happen only in one organization or can halt the operations of many organizations. So based on the previous slide, we can define the characteristics of the COVID-19 pandemic as a disruptive event. The source of disruption is external event. The cause, well, this is actually debatable, but since it is a virus, then I will choose the nature. From the occurrence, this is a creeping incident where there were a couple of weeks from the first confirmed case of COVID-19 identified in Indonesia before the government decided to implement the big-scale social distancing like today that prevents us from coming to our workplace. And the interruptions happens to us and also to our stakeholders as well. And the scale, of course, the pandemic gives a micro scale of the interruption. So basically, these characteristics are totally different with the common scenario of many BCPs here. I think that's one of the reasons why many organizations in Indonesia seem not that ready for the disruption caused by the COVID-19. So now we go to the BC planning for the COVID-19 pandemic. There are some considerations need to be taken into account when planning a business continuity for the COVID-19 pandemic. First, there is no need for evacuation, no property damage, and as a matter of fact, there is nothing happened to our property. It is just we cannot leave our house and go to work to the workplace. The second one is, as mentioned earlier, the impact is not to our asset, not to our data or our information security system, but only to our people. Our people can be infected by the virus, and also our people are not allowed to leave home or come to the workplace, especially in the area which the social distancing is implemented. And also the period of disruption is long compared to the event of fire, which perhaps only takes a day, or flood, which takes a couple of days. The coronavirus spreading can take months, or at least it needs weeks to stop or just to reduce the spreading. It means that the period of disruption will exceed perhaps almost of the RTOs of your organization's critical business functions. Next is, although the virus spread all over the country, there will be some organizations that are required to keep running their operations. For instance, companies that produce and supply basic needs for people, or utility like telephone, internet, electricity, or health facilities like hospitals or government office. And the last one is recovery for the business may take a longer time than resuming the operations. We can return to work normally at the office at any time once the social distancing is over, but our business will still struggle to overcome the economic impact of the pandemic. So using the understanding about the specific characteristics of the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the considerations I explained just now, IRMAPA, the Associations for the Risk Management Professionals in Indonesia, developed and published a practical guidance to support organizations in planning their BCM. The guidance is designed as generic as possible, so it can be used by any organization from any sector or industry, even by an organization with a limited competency in BCM. The trade-off is, well, of course, the guidance does not cover protocols which might be needed by an organization with a set of highly specific requirements in handling the pandemics, like hospitals, for example. The guidance focus on the BCPs and emergency response plans, or ERPs, for the COVID-19 pandemic. So it may still be relevant for other cases of infectious disease, but not for other types of disruptions actually. So the guidance provide BCP for work from home or from alternative premises owned or rent by the organization, located in an area with zero or small amount of positive cases or without social distancing. If the organization is not ready to relocate the activity to other place, then the guidance also provides a BCP to modify the process. So then the process can be conducted from home or alternative premises. Also, the guidance provides a BCP to outsource the process, although it may not be effective, especially when the third party is also exposed to the virus spread or with the countermeasures applied by the authorities, like, for instance, big scale social distancing or lockdown, and not to mention other challenges the organization may face in finding a right partner with the required ability and with the reasonable price. Still, this BCP, whenever it's possible, is a better option than just a temporary closure of the business. The guidance actually also suggests to combine these BCPs in a most relevant way, including with applying on and off on specific days in a week, or work shifting, or reducing our office hours in a day. So basically, the guidance suggests any possible efforts an organization can do to support government measures to prevent an uncontrollable spread of the infection. In addition, the guidance also provides ERPs, especially for organizations that are required to operate in their workplaces. There are ERPs for identified infection case at the workplace, and also ERP for other possible disruptions to the activity at the workplace, which might happen during the pandemic. So now we come to the second part of the presentation, which is about the business resilience. According to ISO 22316-2017, organizational resilience, the definition of the organizational resilience is stated as the ability of an organization to absorb and adapt in a changing environment. So the terminology absorb used in the definition is best described by using the airbag as an example. Right after it floats, the airbag absorbs the impact from the driver's head and becomes a cushion that saves the life of the driver. In the context of an organization, a resilient organization has the ability to absorb the impact of a change, or if I may say, disruptive change, and quickly learn to adapt and bounce back to recover. Well, according to the International Consortium for Organizational Resilience, the framework to build a resilient organizations actually involves two different disciplines, not only the VCM, of course, which help us to survive from disruptions, but also the crisis management, communications, incident response, risk management, ICT continuity, information security, and supply chain resilience, plus the legal audit and compliance, human resource, organizational behavior, and of course, financial health and viability. So yes, it is bigger scope than business continuity. There is no way we can discuss about everything today, so I will only focus on the risk management, especially the logical sense on how risk management takes a part in building a resilient organization. Back to the context of the COVID-19, what may be the changes we might need to anticipate after the pandemic? The following slides may give us some ideas, but since this is just to give an insight, we will have a quick ride rather than discussing them one by one. First, relates to the coronavirus itself. It is quite relieving to know that second wave spreading can be controlled by the containment measures applied today, or to know that the mutation rate of the virus is likely low. However, as you may also have learned from many reports and projections today, the economic impact of the pandemic apparently will require a lot more of attention and efforts from us. For example, this projection made by one of the professor of economics from London Business Schools, it says that the economic impact of the pandemic will emerge in multi-waves or rounds. This is from IMF. The projection says that there will be recession globally in 2020 with uncertain recovery if in the 2021. This is also from the same report, provides some projected indicators for Indonesia. You can see from the projection for 2020, seems that we need to deal with the GDP that drops quite deep, the balance deficit that becomes wider, and also with the increasing unemployment before bouncing back again in 2021. This is from BCG, Boston Consulting Group, which reported that 60% of the companies that participated the global surveys of the BCG are also projecting a recession after the COVID-19 pandemic, and they are trying to be prepared for it. This is a McKinsey report, which says that some sectors, for instance, electronics and gadgets or consumer goods, probably may recover fast, while the others like aviation and tourism may need to struggle for their recovery for the rest of 2020. So enough with the economics. I think this one, the BCG report also says that, well, if I may say, thanks to the social distancing, the society everywhere is dramatically embracing digitization and demanding contactless operations. And this is likely continuing after the pandemic. Now we reach the last part of my presentation, which is about to build the organizational resilience. So how can risk management play its part in the process of building a resilient organization? And organizational resilience is built from our ability to understand the situation, which is the change that may happen, and also the impact to the organization. And by having that kind of understanding, we can try to understand things need to be done. This is actually like identifying risk and finding what we can do to mitigate it. By doing so, it is expected that we can have the ability to anticipate the potential event, also the ability to resist or quickly respond and act thoughtfully in the middle of the event, and the ability to recover faster and adapt and change to make our organization still relevant to the new normal, and keep learning for further improvements. Why actually we need to build those kind of abilities, or in a simple word, why we want to be a resilient organization? There are actually lots of theoretical answers you can find from many literatures, but I found this very down-to-earth answer from one guideline developed by the what do you call it, the UPS Foundation in collaboration with World Economic Forum and other high-profile organizations. It says organizational resilience will help your organization to protect six critical assets of the organization. First is your operations, your inventory, equipment, building or property, people, and data. So again, back to the COVID-19, what should we do after the pandemic? This is taken from one article that gives us four practical suggestions. I would like to focus on the number 3 and 4. They are that we need to evaluate and prevent liquidity short, and also try to identify the other financial risk, also the operational risk, and most important is we need to respond quickly. Uh, Also considering alternatives, supply chains wherever it is possible, and how the crisis. I try to understand how the crisis may affect our budgets and business plans, and how to deal with it, and use government support policies like financial stimulus packages. Plus, revisit and revise our strategy, execute it while keep monitoring and learning from the situations, and so forth. So you can increase the resilience of your organization by referring best or common practice like ISO 22316 2017, or perhaps using the Darwin Resilience Management Guideline 2018. Darwin is actually the name of a project which initiated by European Union to develop guidelines for resilience management. The project involved 247 practitioners from 22 countries. So what you see here is the logical sequence that maps the Darwin Resilience Management Guidelines. Whatever the standard of practical guideline you adopt, please bear in our mind that like any other system within the organization, key success factor of building organizational resilience is leadership and culture in your organization. This paper is actually from Indonesian academicians and is about testing the correlation between organizational resilience, organizational performance, resilient leadership, and organizational culture. The research came up with very interesting findings. The first one is organizational resilience is positively and significantly associated with organizational performance directly. The second one, the organizational resilience is positively and significantly associated with organizational performance indirectly, with the mediating roles of resilient leadership and the organizational culture. The stronger effect size is resilient leadership, and when it integrated with the organizational culture. And the last one, on the contrary, the finding of the relationship between organizational resilience and organizational culture was not significant, but when it comes to the organizational performance, the result was significant. So I hope you enjoy the presentation, and thank you.